Being prepared when disaster strikes may mean the difference between life and death for yourself and your family. Since September 11th, the threat of terrorism in America has become a reality. Almost every day there are reports of terrorism throughout the world. The threat of chemical, biological, and nuclear terrorism has come to our shores. Chemical spills, nuclear, industrial, and transportation accidents also can affect our daily lives. Global pandemics can occur naturally through viruses or through bioterrorism attacks. Natural disasters include solar storms and weather-related events such as hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, floods, winter storms, severe drought, and wildland fires. Widespread power outages can occur from excessive demand on electric utilities during prolonged high temperatures. The information contained in this video is intended to help you make important decisions which may affect your welfare and possibly even your survival in the event of an emergency. Solar weather can have a direct impact on our daily lives. Intense solar flares are a potential danger to astronauts in space and passengers in high-altitude aircraft. Satellites can be damaged by geomagnetic storms, resulting in disrupted communications. In some cases, damage can occur to electronic components aboard satellites. Solar weather can also disrupt shortwave, VHF, satellite phones, communication satellites carrying television, pager, radio communications, as well as GPS and other navigation systems. The power grid that supplies our homes with electricity can be disrupted over a wide area, causing a total power blackout. Pipelines can also be damaged by a geomagnetic storm. The solar weather is continuously monitored by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, and the U.S. Air Force, who provide warnings and advisories worldwide to government and commercial agencies.
No space weather storms observed the past 24 hours. No space weather storms expected for the next 24 hours.
The atmosphere approximates the function of a greenhouse by first letting sunlight pass through to warm the Earth, while absorbing much of the heat radiated up from the surface of the Earth. Clouds and a natural layer of atmospheric gases absorb a portion of the Earth's heat and prevent it from escaping into space. Sunlight passes through this blanket of greenhouse gases, reflecting some solar radiation back into space. The remaining solar energy is absorbed by the Earth's surface of land and water. This natural occurrence is known as the greenhouse effect. The increased release of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, according to many scientists, has caused the Earth's temperature to rise. An increase of carbon dioxide, methane, particulate matter, and other gases is responsible for global warming. Carbon dioxide emissions are caused by the combustion of fossil fuels in electric power generation, motor vehicles, and industries. As the blanket of greenhouse gases increases, the additional thickness causes increased ocean and land temperatures. NOAA monitors worldwide CO2 levels from sites on land and the sea. Air samples from each site are analyzed. Since 1958, NOAA has monitored air samples from its site in Mauna Loa, Hawaii. Every year, the CO2 levels have increased. Global warming will result in increased warming of sea and land temperatures and changes in our climate and weather patterns, including heat waves, extreme precipitation, floods, droughts, and a rise in sea levels. This warming is one of the many types of climate change that the Earth has gone through in the past and will continue to go through in the future. Keep informed as new research on global warming becomes available. Many vital aspects of our daily lives can be disrupted by a variety of natural or man-made disasters. Our supply of drinking water, for example, could be interrupted for a few hours by a water main break, or for days or weeks in the event of a hurricane, earthquake, or prolonged power outage. We can live for a few weeks without food, but only a few days without water. Since a contaminated water supply can result from many different causes, obtaining safe drinking water is a very high priority in emergency situations. Water sources such as lakes, rivers, and streams may look clean, but probably contain microorganisms that can make you sick. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency reports that 90% of the world's fresh water supply is contaminated. In times of emergency, even tap water can be unsafe to drink. Listen to your local radio station to find out if there are any problems with your water filtration plant. If the plant experiences a prolonged power outage, it may be unable to maintain normal safety standards for the water supply. Sources of emergency drinking water include rain, clean snow, lakes and rivers. You can also drain the water from your home water heater, but you may want to filter it before using it, since it could contain some sediment. Any time that you're uncertain of the purity of your water, be sure to treat it before you drink it. If the water you're planning to use looks cloudy, the first step in treating it should be to pour it through a coffee filter or a piece of cloth to remove any solid particles. Never try to treat water that smells of petroleum. One method of obtaining safe water is through the use of high-quality camping water filter pumps. A filter which you may have on your kitchen faucet was made to clean already treated water and may not remove many bacteria and viruses when water supplies have been interrupted. Instead, you may wish to use a portable water filter designed for camping. Keep in mind that all water filters are not equally effective in removing harmful microorganisms. The Environmental Protection Agency has established guidelines for water purifiers. These are water filters which eliminate almost all harmful microorganisms in each of the three categories: protozoa, bacteria, and viruses. Some water filters remove only protozoa, which are the largest, while others also remove bacteria and viruses. Before deciding on a water filter, be sure to find out how well the filter meets EPA standards. Water filters also vary considerably in terms of cost, speed, capacity, and ease of cleaning, so shop carefully to find one that suits your needs and your budget. Be sure to carefully follow the manufacturer's directions for using, cleaning, and storing your filter. If you obtain water to filter from a lake or stream that contains sediment, use a paper coffee filter to wrap around the filter on the water pump. Keep a supply of the inexpensive coffee filters with your emergency supplies. For treating water, the American Red Cross recommends that you bring water to a rolling boil for 1 minute. After boiling, let the water cool for at least 30 minutes and add 16 drops of liquid chlorine bleach for each gallon of water. Then stir. Make sure that the only ingredient in the bleach is 5.25% sodium hypochlorite and that there are no added fragrances or soap. Let the treated water stand for 30 minutes. If it smells of chlorine, it is safe to drink. If not, add 16 more drops of liquid bleach, stir, and let sit for another 15 minutes. If there is no chlorine smell, do not drink the water. You must find another source. You can write down the Red Cross water treatment steps and tape them to your emergency bleach bottle along with an eyedropper. Liquid bleach breaks down over time, so replace it every 3 months and store it in a cool, dry place. To improve the taste of boiled water, add oxygen to it by pouring the water back and forth between 2 clean containers. Chlorine treatments are meant for short-term use only. You may want to check with your local health department to see what they recommend for treating drinking water in your area, and if you have children under 1 year of age, ask your pediatrician for advice. You can also choose to store the water ahead of time. Allow at least 1 gallon per person per day. You can buy commercially bottled drinking water, or you can store your own water in clean, food-grade quality plastic bottles. Use only containers with tight-fitting screw caps. When filling water storage containers, make sure to use a garden hose marked safe for drinking water. Many rubber hoses release carcinogens and are not safe for drinking water. Be sure never to store water in a container which has held any toxic substance. Tap water may be preferable to bottled water for long-term storage, since tap water has been treated with chlorine, which kills microorganisms. You can also add commercially available water treatment products, both liquids and tablets, which put chlorine dioxide into the water to kill bacteria, viruses, and cysts. These additives also improve the taste and increase the shelf life of stored water. Follow the manufacturer's instructions on the length of time required between treating the water and drinking the water. Personal water purifier bottles that contain a microfilter and activated charcoal are also available. These filter bottles remove all microorganisms, including viruses. The filter bottles are ideal to carry in your vehicle and to keep in your office. In the event of a pandemic, these water purifier bottles would help avoid spread of flu through germs on glasses and airborne exposure. Store your water in a cool, dark place to help prevent algae growth and replace the water every 6 months. If you live in a warm climate or store your water in a warm location, replace it every 3 months. Having a source of clean, safe water available is an important part of emergency preparedness and should be high on your list of items to have readily available. Every family and business should have a disaster plan that is updated regularly. For families, the plan should include important phone numbers, meeting places, evacuation routes, knowledge of where emergency supplies, including food and water, are located. Planning and discussions with the family will help reduce stress in times of an emergency. Planning should include weather-related disasters such as tornadoes, fire, earthquakes, hurricanes, power outages, and terrorist attacks with biological and chemical weapons. A family plan should also include the location of an emergency escape kit and supplies in case an evacuation order is given. An escape kit of important family records and computer data should be part of the plan, along with medical and bank account records, prescriptions, copies of insurance policies, and prescription drugs, contact lenses and glasses, and a map of the area. Back up your computer hard drive on either a flash memory device or external hard drive. In the event of a hurricane, flood, or other disaster, the data you place in a waterproof escape kit will help you recover your records in case your home is lost. A flashlight with lithium-ion batteries that can last up to 10 years should be stored in the waterproof escape case when not being used. Other items that should be quickly available in an emergency include water, food, battery or hand crank operated NOAA all hazards radio, extra batteries, first aid kit, dust mask, wrench or pliers to turn off utilities, can opener, pet food, infant formula and diapers, sleeping bags, extra cash, complete change of clothing including long sleeve shirt, long pants, and sturdy shoes. Other items that you may want to have in an easy to locate place include a camping water filter, fire extinguisher, matches in a waterproof container, feminine supplies, and personal hygiene items, along with a mess kit and eating supplies such as plastic utensils, plates, and paper towels. For your business, a larger waterproof case that can contain valuable computer external hard drives or other data storage devices, as well as vital business records and files, will help survival and recovery of the business. A list of key employees, important customers, and other vital company information will help your business recover. Each employee should have knowledge of the company's disaster plan and should know where emergency supplies are stored. A list of employees who have first aid training and other non-job related skills should be kept. An evacuation plan and shelter-in-place plan should be discussed several times a year. The danger of fire and injury to you and your family increases during a disaster. Make sure your home has battery-operated smoke and fire alarms installed on every level, including basements, attics, stairways, and outside every sleeping area. You might also want to put one in each bedroom for maximum protection. Replace the batteries every 6 months and the alarm itself every 10 years. It's also a good idea to have a fire extinguisher on every floor of your home, plus one in the kitchen and garage. Check the gauge on your fire extinguisher every month and replace or recharge as necessary. A general-purpose ABC fire extinguisher will put out most fires, including wood, paper, plastic, grease, fuel, and electrical. Read the manufacturer's instructions and be sure you know how to use the fire extinguisher. Teach your family members the PASS technique for fire extinguisher operation. Pull the pin. Aim at the base of the fire, being sure to stay at least 6 feet away. Squeeze the handle. Sweep the base of the fire from side to side. Another increased risk is the danger of carbon monoxide poisoning. Carbon monoxide, or CO, is an invisible, odorless, poisonous gas which is produced by burning fuel. It interferes with the blood's capacity to carry oxygen and can be fatal when inhaled. Symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning include dizziness, fatigue, headache, nausea, and confusion. Prolonged low-level exposure can be as dangerous as a brief, high-level exposure. Unborn babies, young children, pregnant women, senior citizens, and people with heart or respiratory problems are particularly at risk. A battery-operated CO detector is the best defense against carbon monoxide poisoning. You should have one in or near each bedroom and living area. For the greatest protection, choose an alarm that provides a digital display for both peak level memory and the current CO level. Follow the manufacturer's directions for installation and use. Many CO detectors should be replaced at least every 5 years. Carbon monoxide poisoning can result from poorly ventilated water heaters, furnaces, lanterns, and fireplaces. Whenever you use alternative sources for heat or light, check the reading on your CO detector on a regular basis. Also, keep in mind that natural gas and propane are not interchangeable fuels. If you have an appliance that operates on natural gas, do not attempt to convert it to run on propane for emergency use. Since normal fire, rescue, and medical care may not be available during a disaster, it is important for you to be prepared to handle some situations on your own. If at all possible, take basic first aid, CPR, and fire safety classes. Also, be sure to have a well-stocked first aid kit on hand. These are available commercially, or you can assemble your own. Consult a first aid manual for items to include. In addition to first aid supplies, you may want to have any prescription and non-prescription medicine that your family members normally use. Include such items as aspirin and non-aspirin pain relievers, anti-diarrhea medicine, antacids, laxatives, and cold remedies. Depending on your needs, you may also want to have extra eyeglasses, extra contact lenses and supplies, heart or high blood pressure medicine, seasonal allergy medication, insulin, denture supplies, and hearing aid batteries. If you've been diagnosed with coronary artery disease, you may want to ask your cardiologist if you should have an automatic external defibrillator or AED at home. During a disaster, severe weather, or extended events such as a pandemic or widespread power outage, emergency services may be overwhelmed and emergency response by medical services could be delayed. The use of a home AED requires training, but in the event of a family member suffering sudden cardiac arrest, an AED could save a life. Be sure to check with your doctor if you have any disabilities or special health care needs. During an emergency, obtaining and preparing food can also become difficult. If your power goes off, eat any perishable foods first, including the food in your refrigerator. Next, eat the food in your freezer. Frozen foods can keep for a few days without power, but don't open the freezer any more than necessary. If the frozen food still contains ice crystals, it should be safe to eat. If you have any doubts whether a food is safe to eat, discard it. Non-perishable food from your pantry should be eaten next. Make sure to have a manually operated can opener on hand. Many of these foods, such as juice, canned fruits and vegetables, ready-to-eat cereal, crackers, tuna, and peanut butter, need no preparation. Other foods, such as dry noodles, instant soups, beans, rice, and other dehydrated and dried foods, require only boiling water to prepare. In addition to the foods you normally keep on hand, you may wish to store an emergency reserve supply. Avoid foods that are high in salt or fat content. Plan on 3 meals per person per day, and remember that the average adult requires around 2,000 calories each day. Be sure to include protein, grains, dried beans, fruits, vegetables, and dairy products. For proper nutrition, you will need to have a variety of foods from each group. As extra insurance, it may be wise to store vitamin supplements for your family also. Keep in mind any special dietary needs, as well as your family's food preferences. And don't forget comfort foods, such as cookies, instant cocoa, and coffee, tea, and candy. These can be very welcome in stressful times. Both the taste and the nutritional value of foods will deteriorate over time, so remember to rotate your stored food, using up items and replacing them every 6 months or so. Write the purchase date on each product, or if you purchase and store food in batches, you can use several different color of stick-on dots to color code each batch. Do not attempt to store any canned products if the can has been dented, as there will be a higher likelihood of spoilage. Storing new purchases at the back of your existing supplies makes rotating easy. Just use the foods in front first. For maximum storage life, keep canned and packaged food in a cool, dry place away from sunlight. Ideally, the temperature should stay between 40 and 70 degrees at all times. Do not store food directly on concrete or dirt surfaces, as that can cause moisture buildup, leading to mold or rust problems. If bugs or high humidity are a problem where you live, you may want to take extra precautions, such as rotating your foods more often and storing items such as flour, pasta, cornmeal, and rice in airtight containers. For lower maintenance, long-term storage, you may wish to consider the large selection of freeze-dried and dehydrated foods available. Both freeze-drying and dehydrating are processes which remove most of the water from foods. The resulting products take up less storage space and have a longer shelf life than fresh or canned food. In freeze-drying, food is flash frozen and then placed in vacuum chambers where the moisture is evaporated with the aid of low-level heat. This process preserves much of the original nutrition, color, flavor, texture, and aroma of the food. There is a wide variety of freeze-dried foods, including pre-cooked meats, entrees, side dishes, vegetables, and desserts. Since they are often sold in lightweight pouches and require only water to prepare, these foods have been popular with campers and hikers for years. Larger, multi-serving cans are also available, which can have a shelf life of 15 years or more. Pouches, which include an oxygen-absorbing packet, have a shelf life of 5 years or more, but take care not to puncture the pouches. This somewhat higher cost of freeze-dried foods can be offset by their ease of preparation and the variety they can add to your menu. Dehydrated food has had moisture removed at temperatures below cooking level. Foods which are commonly dehydrated are fruits, vegetables, and milk. Perhaps less familiar are dehydrated margarine, eggs, and cheese, all of which would be impractical to try to store long-term if fresh. Foods made of texturized vegetable protein are also available dehydrated and can provide a convenient meat substitute. These items may require more preparation than canned or freeze-dried foods, but they are economical, and in combination with staples such as grains, rice, and beans, they form a sound base for any long-term food storage program. Although no stored food lasts forever, commercially dehydrated products can have a shelf life of 15 years or more. Packaging techniques have a great impact on how long foods will keep. Look for freeze-dried and dehydrated foods packed in double enamel cans, that is, enamel on both the inside and outside of the can, for greatest longevity. The oxygen content of the food also affects its shelf life, so look for products with a maximum oxygen content of 2%. A stable oxygen level this low can be achieved by flushing the can with nitrogen and adding an oxygen-absorbing packet. Check the manufacturer's literature concerning their food selection, quality control, packing procedure, oxygen content, nutritional values, and recommended shelf life of their products. Some people may wish to preserve their own food for future use, either by canning or dehydrating. There are many resources available to teach you the proper techniques, but bear in mind that the shelf life of these foods will not be as long as for the commercially processed versions. Canned foods do not need to be cooked before eating, although some may not taste as good if they're eaten cold. Freeze-dried food requires water to prepare, but does not need to be cooked. Most dehydrated foods will require extra water, as well as a way to cook them. You may want to practice preparing your freeze-dried or dehydrated food before an emergency situation occurs. Charcoal and gas barbecue grills are fine for emergency food preparation, but they should only be used outdoors. Not only are they a fire hazard, but they also produce high levels of deadly carbon monoxide gas. If necessary, a camp stove can be used indoors, but be careful to provide plenty of ventilation and keep a fire extinguisher nearby. For any of these, you will need to store extra fuel and observe proper safety precautions. And don't forget plenty of waterproof matches. A note of caution: in extreme situations, if you have food but no water, do not eat. The body requires water in order to digest food, so eating can increase your need for water. Be sure you have at least 2 quarts of drinking water per day. You may want to keep a supply of paper towels, paper plates and cups, and plastic tableware on hand to save on washing up if water is scarce. Also, be sure to have sturdy, covered garbage containers and plenty of garbage bags and ties in case garbage pickup is disrupted. An electrical outage can be caused by many problems, ranging from weather-related events to local or regional power problems. Normally, electric power is restored in hours or days. Listen to a battery-operated radio to find out how widespread the power outage is and how long it is expected to last. During a widespread, prolonged power outage, many of the goods and services we take as usual stop. Supermarkets, ATM machines, gas stations, hardware stores, and other businesses we rely on will be closed. If electrical power could be disrupted for a long period of time, having alternative heat and light sources readily available is very important. During cold temperatures, the loss of heat can create serious problems, especially for the very young and the elderly. Wear extra layers of clothing, such as sweaters and sweatshirts indoors. Try to stay in a room near a heat source and close off as many other rooms as possible. Keep a supply of blankets and sleeping bags close by to provide an additional layer of insulation. Wood stoves, fireplaces, and kerosene or propane heaters can all help you stay warm, but keep any flammable materials at least 3 feet away. Take extra precautions if you have pets or young children to keep them from being burned. If you have a wood-burning stove or fireplace, it's a good idea to have the pipes or chimney cleaned periodically. A substance called creosote can build up in vent pipes and chimneys, causing a fire. Burn only dry wood, since green wood with a high moisture content causes creosote to build up quickly. Store firewood away from your home in an open area and cover it with a waterproof tarp. Firewood is a potential fire hazard and should never be stored under porches, decks, or in carports. Portable kerosene and propane heaters pose the risk of carbon monoxide poisoning and should only be used in a well-ventilated area. Be sure to follow the manufacturer's operating instructions and also keep a battery-operated carbon monoxide detector nearby. Remember to store extra fuel for your heater in approved containers and keep them in a well-ventilated area outside of your living space to reduce the risk of fire. Never try to use a gas stove or a charcoal or gas grill to heat your house. You may want to have several flashlights on hand to provide extra light in case your power goes off. If you use an incandescent bulb flashlight, you will need extra flashlight bulbs as well as plenty of batteries. Since batteries don't last forever, be sure to check on the expiration dates and replace them as necessary. Consider changing to lithium-ion batteries for a long shelf life. Flashlights and lanterns have a variety of bulbs, battery types, light output, and severe weather operations. Read the manufacturer's specification to find flashlights and lanterns that meet you and your family's needs. Flashlight technology has come a long way since the days of cheap, hardware store lights that often failed when they were needed most. When selecting a flashlight for your home, office, and car, there are many choices. How bright do you want the light to be? Do you have the ability to focus the light? What type of bulb? What type of battery are just some of the questions. Incandescent bulbs have the highest light output. They can be easily focused and shine for long distances. They do require periodic bulb replacement and can fail on impact. Xenon bulbs have extremely bright light output and are excellent for long distances. Some xenon flashlights have a spare bulb in the tail cap. Halogen bulbs emit a bright light and are good for long distances. Newer light-emitting diodes emit a wider, dispersed light and are very durable and have a bulb life up to 100,000 hours. LEDs use less power from batteries and have a long run time of up to 300 hours light before batteries need to be recharged. Some LED flashlights can be focused or come with a focused lens emitting light in either a wide or spot pattern. Luxeon LEDs are 10 times brighter than standard LEDs and have a life of 10 to 50,000 hours and can be focused with a reflector. Battery types should also be considered when buying a flashlight and lantern. Disposable alkaline batteries will store up to 7 years and give off the brightest light when first used in a flashlight, then decline as the battery is used. Alkaline batteries are affected by cold temperatures. Lithium batteries last up to 10 years and operate much better than alkaline batteries at low temperatures. They also emit a steadier light output than lights powered by alkaline batteries. Rechargeable batteries are also an option. Flashlights and lanterns can be stored in battery chargers, allowing them to be fully charged. Nickel-cadmium and lithium-ion batteries have low operating expenses after their initial purchase. Many batteries can be charged up to 1,000 times, either overnight or using a more expensive quick charger. Rechargeable batteries perform well in low temperatures, but most must be periodically recharged. Rechargeable lithium-ion batteries are half the weight of nickel-cadmium batteries, have low discharge rates when outside of the charger, and can be charged up to 300 times. Most rechargeable flashlights can be charged in both your home and car. Another important specification to look for in a flashlight is whether the light is water resistant or waterproof. Unlike many older flashlights, many of these lights can operate in severe weather, including rain. Flashlights should be placed in a location where you can easily find the light at night in case of a power outage. Small photoluminescent flashlights that glow in the dark with a long battery life can be placed near your bed. Your family may want to consider a waterproof lantern that is located in a convenient spot in your home. Lanterns have a high level of light output and can be used in smoke, fog, dust, and heavy rain at night to find your way to safety. Some lanterns automatically turn on when power in your home is cut and quickly detach from the battery charger to provide up to 9 hours of light. Your vehicle should also have a good flashlight in it. Many of the rechargeable lights can be recharged by your home electric power or by your car's cigarette lighter outlet. It's important to read the flashlight manufacturer's specifications and operating instructions to know what type of flashlight is best for you and your family. Severe weather, power outages, and acts of terrorism are not the time to run to the store to purchase flashlights. Candles are not as good a choice for light because of the fire danger. Candles can be very easily tipped over by children or pets, and the flame could ignite any nearby combustible material. Kerosene or oil lanterns also pose a fire risk and produce deadly carbon monoxide gas. If a power outage occurs during daylight hours, take a few minutes and place your emergency heat and lighting supplies in a convenient location along with a fire extinguisher. Some people decide to install an alternative power source, which they can use when normal electrical service is disrupted. In planning for alternative power, there are several options, including generators and power inverters. Depending on your location, you may also be able to take advantage of renewable sources, such as solar and wind energy. A generator can provide electric power to run lights, motors, and appliances in your home during a power outage. Some generators are designed for short, intermittent use and may not function properly over extended periods. Generators also vary in the amount and quality of electrical power they produce. Power which is capable of running your refrigerator may not be suitable for your computer or other electronic equipment. Before you purchase a generator, Check with a licensed electrician to determine your specific needs. Generators should be sized for the amount of power needed. A small gasoline generator will not power a home's entire electrical needs. An electrician can install a sub-panel which will direct power to a limited number of essential uses. Never plug a generator directly into an electrical outlet during a power outage. The demand from home appliances may exceed the generator's capabilities, causing it to fail. There is also a danger to power company workers trying to restore your power if they come in contact with electricity being sent down the power lines by your generator. Have a licensed electrician install a transfer switch, which will isolate your generator from the power lines coming into your home. Generators can be powered either by natural gas, propane, gasoline, or diesel fuel. Take proper precautions in using and storing these combustible materials, and remember to replace them as necessary. Untreated gasoline stored above ground should be replaced every 3 to 4 months, while untreated diesel fuel can last slightly longer. There are commercial products available to extend fuel storage life. Generators should only be used in a well-ventilated area outside your home due to the risk of carbon monoxide poisoning. For additional safety, have a battery-operated carbon monoxide detector inside your home to make sure dangerous carbon monoxide fumes are not entering the house. Contact your local fire department concerning regulations for generator use and fuel storage. Although more expensive than generators, an inverter system can be an excellent source of electrical power during power outages. Inverters typically take electric power from a direct current source, such as a bank of batteries, and convert it to 110-volt alternating current. This makes it possible to use the power from batteries for furnace pumps, lights, and to run the appliances in your home. The battery bank can be recharged using a fuel-powered generator, solar power cells, or a wind generator. A small inverter system can supply enough power to run the heat pump for your furnace and other small appliances, while a large system could handle many of your household needs. Changing your regular bulbs to low-wattage fluorescent bulbs can provide your customary amount of lighting while reducing your energy needs. Some inverter systems monitor the quality of normal electrical power to your home and can sense power spikes, interruptions, and high or low voltage problems. These inverters can charge a battery bank during normal times and then automatically switch over when needed to provide your home with stable electrical power. Like generators, inverters must be sized for their specific application. The amount of power and the length of time the power will be available is dependent on the size of the inverter and battery bank. Also, like generators, inverters vary in the quality of alternating current they produce. Check with a licensed electrician about your specific needs. During an emergency, receiving accurate news and information is very important. During power interruptions, many radio and television stations have emergency generators that will provide power to the station for several days. The telephone system is normally powered by batteries that are charged by commercial electric power. During power outages, these batteries are charged by generators, allowing telephone service to continue for several days after the power has failed. Telephone company fiber optic switching boxes also have battery backup. Cordless phones and some PBX systems that require electric power may be susceptible to failure, even when the phone lines are working. Keep a regular plug-in telephone handy if your home has cordless telephones. During disasters, both regular and cellular telephone communications may be disrupted due to downed antennas and power lines. To ensure your ability to obtain news about an emergency situation, keep a battery-operated combination AM, FM, and shortwave radio in your home, along with a supply of extra batteries. Several models have a built-in hand crank that allow charging the radio's battery. If a region is without power for a prolonged period, local radio, television, cable, and broadcast stations cannot be received. A shortwave radio receiver can provide you with the ability to hear radio signals from around the world. There are many radio stations similar to AM stations that reach a global audience through shortwave radio. Stations such as the BBC, the Voice of America, and Radio Canada International can be heard with a portable receiver.
You're listening to Radio Netherlands, the Dutch international service.
Sometimes, shortwave radio signals can fade in and out and are subject to atmospheric noise, especially when a thunderstorm is near. In addition to the broadcast stations, a shortwave radio gives you the ability to listen to amateur radio operators around the world.
Thanks for the report, my friend, and here's hoping you have a very good weekend yourself. Indian November number 3, Romeo X-ray, 8 Papa 6 Echo X-ray.
They provide vital emergency communications locally, nationally, and internationally in times of disaster, and can be a good source for important news. When communications are disrupted, amateur radio could be a critical resource. A new simplified licensing test is now offered, which will permit you to obtain a ham radio license. Also, new technology permits combining shortwave and VHF transceivers into one compact radio, which allow you to communicate both locally and internationally. Ham radio operators are also able to communicate through a series of communication satellites and interconnect with distant radio repeaters through the Internet.
PQV, 6 Juliet Echo Bravo, very good evening to you from us here in White River. ZA6 Juliet Echo Bravo in 0 PQV.
Thank you for that. And how is the clarity of our signal to you from walkie-talkie to walkie-talkie?
Currently, we are situated in White River in the province of Mpumalanga, South Africa. Approximately 3.5 hours drive from Johannesburg International Airport, you'll find White River.
Some shortwave radios have the ability to receive single sideband transmissions, which will allow you to hear maritime, aeronautical, and military communications from around the world.
And Air Canada 969, we have now increased to Mach 78, which is our planned cruise. We'd like to maintain Mach 78 to understand 370.
While the sideband signals may, at first, sound garbled, when slowly tuned, the broadcast can provide you with important information during a widespread emergency. There are many books and magazines available which list frequencies for different types of radio communications. Another important source of information is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's All Hazards Radio of nearly 1,000 weather radio stations, which broadcast continuous weather information to more than 98% of the U.S. population in all 50 states, U.S. territories, and adjacent coastal waters. Canada also has a similar radio service that operates with the same technology. These VHF radio stations have a range of about 40 miles depending on terrain and provide important weather-related warnings and advisories.
Inland hurricane warning remains in effect until 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time Monday.
They also provide warnings and broadcast event information for other types of hazards, such as terrorist alerts, biological hazards, wildland fire warnings, radiological hazard warnings, and amber alerts. Local emergency managers can access the system to provide local warnings and advisories. There are more than 80 different alert events programmed into most NOAA All Hazards radios. Look for a NOAA All Hazards radio that has a battery backup, as well as a feature called SAME, Specific Area Message Encoding. SAME will automatically sound an alert and provide a voice message when a watch or warning is issued for a specific part of your county. You can program a NOAA All Hazards radio to receive SAME messages for several locations in your area. In an emergency or during severe weather, the Emergency Alert System, or EAS, may be activated. Every radio and television station and many cable and satellite systems broadcast EAS messages on a voluntary basis. These can provide you with important information for your area. The EAS can be activated either on the local or national level. In the event of a national emergency, the President can access the EAS to speak to the country. A new public alert called Integrated Public Alert and Warning System will be able to take advantage of digital technology and be able to broadcast location-specific warnings to cell phones, satellite radio, digital pagers, as well as through reverse 911, cable, and digital television. The goal of the system is to deliver alerts and warnings to the public transparently over all communication systems 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Some radios combine a NOAA All Hazards radio and an EAS receiver in one radio. The radio is normally silent except when a watch or warning is transmitted.
Inland hurricane warning in effect until 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time this afternoon. Hurricane warning in effect. Flood watch in effect until 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time this afternoon. Tornado watch 837 in effect until 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time this morning.
Many NOAA All Hazards receivers will sound an alert siren and provide voice information when an emergency alert is received and display the type of alert in text on a digital display on the receiver. All Hazards radios have been credited with saving many lives by providing warnings before tornadoes and other disasters strike. Digital pagers and cell phones can receive severe weather and other critical alerts, such as a warning of a terrorist attack or dangerous chemical spills. Many cities use a reverse 911 warning system to notify the public through the telephone. During widespread disasters such as a terrorist attack or hurricane, radio, television, cellular, and NOAA All Hazards radio transmissions may be disrupted. Vehicle and battery-operated portable satellite radios normally used to receive music, sports, and news will continue to operate.
You are listening to live coverage on XM Satellite Radio's 24/7 Emergency Alert Channel.
We would like them to stay inside until they get word that the all clear has been given. What you're going to be looking at is, as soon as the storm passes by and people start venturing out, is that it's going to create some very, very dangerous situations. We've got a number of trees down already across the roadway. We've got some power lines down, and we don't want people to go out before it's rendered safe.
The satellite radios will provide national cable news channels and national weather broadcasts, as well as local traffic reports. Text information on emergency conditions is available on satellite radio traffic channels. Some satellite radio services offer a dedicated 24-hour emergency channel that could be expanded to multiple channels and will broadcast live information about a specific disaster. Many vehicles that have satellite radios installed are able to receive the emergency channel even without a subscription to the satellite service. Other forms of two-way radio communications with limited range but less potential interference are the family radio service and the general mobile radio service. They provide local communications through walkie-talkie radios and can be very useful for communicating with family members and friends in your community. Their range is limited by line of sight. Emergency responders such as police, firefighters, and medical services transmit on the VHF and UHF radio bands. A battery-operated scanner will let you listen to these emergency services as well as to aircraft, trains, amateur radio operators, and NOAA All Hazards radio stations. Having a battery-operated or hand crank radio will give you the ability to hear what is happening both locally and around the world. Don't wait for an emergency to occur. Take some time now to learn what kind of communication equipment you want to have and learn how to operate it. Our pets are important family members, so planning for their well-being during a disaster should be a part of your preparedness plan. Keep at least a 2-week supply of food for each pet in an airtight, waterproof container. Store the same food that your pet normally eats and replace it every 3 months. If your pet eats canned food, buy single-serving cans, since you may not be able to refrigerate the leftovers. And don't forget to have a manual can opener and a spoon or scoop for the food. Although pets don't require purified water for their daily diet, they are susceptible to disease and illness from contaminated water. So store a 2-week supply of water for each pet, along with an extra dish and any other supplies your pets need. If you have a cat, it will be safer indoors, so be sure to have a litter box, a scoop, and plenty of cat litter. Toys and treats can be useful to make your pet more comfortable and reduce stress. A pet first aid kit should be stored with your emergency medical supplies. It's also a good idea to prepare by learning first aid for your pet. A variety of first aid kits, books, and videos are all available. Check with your veterinarian if you have any questions, and if your pet is taking long-term medication, ask about keeping an extra supply on hand. Make sure each pet wears a collar and identification tag that lists your name, address, and telephone number. This applies even to cats that stay indoors, because in an emergency situation, they may be able to escape and get lost. It's a good idea to keep a photograph of your pet and your pet's medical records with your valuable papers. If you have to evacuate your home, do not leave your pets behind. You'll need to have a separate carrier for each cat. If your cat may have to be confined for a long time, make sure the carrier is large enough to hold food and water dishes and a litter box. Keep these with the carrier, along with cat litter, a scoop, and plastic bags. You also may want to have a harness and leash for your cat so you can let it out of the carrier for exercise. A frightened dog may slip out of its collar, so a harness is also a good idea for walking your dog. A stake that screws into the ground and a length of rope will let you keep your dog outside if a fenced area is not available. Remember that even a normally friendly dog may be tempted to bite in stressful situations, so consider keeping a muzzle in your emergency pet supplies as well. Keep in mind that emergency shelters may not allow pets, so if you think you may have to evacuate, make arrangements for your pet in advance. Find hotels or motels which accept pets, or look for boarding facilities away from your immediate area. Your pet trusts you to take good care of them, and they give you a lifetime of love in return. A little planning now will help you keep them safe if disaster strikes. During an emergency such as a terrorist attack, chemical spill, or radiological incident, local authorities may request the public to shelter in place. Contaminants may be released into the air, and authorities may request you shelter in place rather than evacuate until the danger has passed. The shelter-in-place alert will be issued on radio and television and through NOAA All Hazards Alert radios. In some cities, a telephone message through the reverse 911 system may be sent. If the incident is chemical, people should choose a large room as high as possible in their home with as few doors and windows as possible, because many chemicals are heavier than air and tend to sink into basements. If the shelter-in-place warning is issued, go inside as quickly as possible. Bring your pets inside with you. If there is time, shut and lock all outside doors and windows, which could provide a tighter seal against chemical and radioactive substances. Turn off the air conditioners, fans, and heaters. Close any fireplace damper or other air inlet. Bring your disaster supplies, including food, water, and batteries, into the room. If you're told there's a danger of explosion, close window shades, blinds, and curtains. Tape plastic sheeting that is at least 2 to 4 mils thick over windows, air vents, or other openings in the room, and tape with wide duct tape. Also, duct tape cracks around doors, vents, cable TV, and electrical outlets in the room. Place bath towels soaked with water into the cracks under doors to block contaminants from entering the room. Make sure you have a CO detector in the room and monitor levels of carbon monoxide. Listen to radio, television, or NOAA All Hazards Radio for information on whether to evacuate or stay in your home until the danger passes. Every incident is different, and it's important to follow the instructions of your local emergency authorities. Water and sewer service can be disrupted by a variety of events, so proper sanitation is very important. You may want to consider having some waterless antibacterial hand soap, cleansing towelettes, liquid chlorine bleach, disinfectant, and rubber gloves. In extreme situations, a plastic bucket with a tight-fitting lid can serve as a makeshift toilet. Line the bucket with a plastic garbage bag and add cat litter for absorbency and odor control. Personal hygiene and sanitary supplies are also good items to have on hand so that you don't run out at an inconvenient time. Extra soap, deodorant, shampoo, toilet paper, and feminine supplies are easy to store. If you have an infant, you will want to have plenty of disposable diapers and baby wipes, as well as baby bottle liners, formula, and baby food. Learn more about sheltering in place from the Centers for Disease Control and the American Red Cross. If an evacuation order is transmitted, quickly contact family members and gather important documents and valuables in your escape kit. Listen to local radio and NOAA All Hazards Radio for important evacuation routes. When highways become jammed, the use of a global positioning satellite receiver with maps can be a valuable resource in finding alternative routes. A GPS receiver can give your location within several feet and help you find routes in unfamiliar settings. GPS can provide your location worldwide. Preloaded map software can find your location on a street map or topographic map in remote locations. The unit also provides you with your exact location coordinates in case you need to be rescued. Read the manufacturer's instructions and practice using a GPS receiver before an emergency occurs. An influenza pandemic is a global outbreak of disease that occurs when a new influenza A virus appears in the human population, causes serious illness, and then spreads easily from person to person worldwide. The last pandemic during the 20th century was the Spanish flu in 1918 and 1919. More than 500,000 people died in the United States, and more than 50 million people died worldwide. Influenza is a highly contagious viral disease. Pandemics occur because the influenza virus has the ability to change into new types or strains. The public may have little or no immunity to the new strain. If a novel and highly contagious strain of influenza emerges, an influenza pandemic could affect populations around the world in weeks or months. Symptoms of flu are commonly fever, muscle pain or aches, and a cough. Depending upon the properties of the virus, the illness may be more severe. The World Health Organization has identified 6 stages of a pandemic. Phase 1. No new influenza subtypes have been detected in humans, but may be present in animals. If present in animals, the risk to humans is low. Phase 2. No new influenza virus subtypes have been detected in humans, but a circulating animal influenza virus subtype poses a substantial risk of human disease. Phase 3. Alerts trigger a pandemic alert period. There are human infections with a new subtype, but no human-to-human spread, or at most are instances of spread to a close contact. Phase 4 is identification of a small cluster with limited human-to-human transmission, but the spread of the virus is highly localized, suggesting that the virus is not well adapted to humans. Phase 5 is a larger cluster, but human-to-human spread is becoming better adapted to humans, but may not be fully transmissible. Phase 6 is a pandemic characterized by increased and sustained transmission in the general public. The CDC estimates that a medium-level pandemic could cause from 89 to 207,000 deaths in the United States and between 314,000 and 734,000 hospitalizations, 18 to 42 million outpatient visits, and another 20 to 47 million people sick. A second wave of influenza could occur 3 to 12 months after the first wave. With today's global travel, the spread of a pandemic could occur within 1 to 6 months between the time the novel influenza is identified and the time the outbreaks begin to occur in the U.S. Antiviral drugs and supportive care would be the likely treatment, but supplies of antiviral drugs may be inadequate in early stages of a pandemic. The flu spreads by coughing and sneezing and can enter your body through the nose, mouth, eyes, and open wounds. Frequent hand washing, covering your mouth and nose with a tissue when you cough or sneeze, avoiding touching and kissing friends and family members are ways not to spread the flu. Avoid public gatherings and stay at least 3 feet from other people if you develop the flu. If a pandemic occurs, having a supply of medical exam gloves and a fit-tested particulate respirator that is approved by the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, or NIOSH, and is rated with a minimum N95 rating will help protect you and your family. Particulate respirators are air purifying because they clean particles out of the air that you breathe. N95 respirators clean 95% of airborne particles from the air. For any particulate respirator to be effective, it must have a tight fit. Respirators with an N100 rating are made of rubber and come in different sizes. They have replaceable filters and can cover the mouth and nose, or are available to cover the entire face. It is important to read the manufacturer's instructions and practice using the respirator before it is needed. When using any respirator in a contagious disease area, it's important to remove and discard the respirator with gloves and dispose of the respirator in a closed container. Rubber respirators should also be cleaned and filters replaced according to the manufacturer's instructions. When removing a respirator, hold your breath, remove the respirator away from your face in a downward motion. Wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with an antiseptic soap. The Centers for Disease Control and the World Health Organization have web pages that have updated reports of influenza outbreaks. Monitor radio and television reports to receive the latest news of influenza outbreaks. If a pandemic does occur, you may be asked to shelter in place for many weeks or even months. Having a NOAA All Hazards radio will provide you with local bulletins and information. Water, food, medical supplies, and particulate respirators for every family member should be planned. The current definition of terrorism is the unlawful use or threatened use of force or violence by a person or an organized group against people or property with the intention of intimidating or coercing societies or governments, often for ideological or political reasons. Acts of terrorism can come from within and from outside our borders. Domestic terrorism include the explosion at a federal building in Oklahoma City in 1995 that killed 168 persons, and the anthrax mailings in 2001. The tragic events of September 11th that killed nearly 3,000 people is an example of terrorism initiated from outside the United States. The threat of chemical, biological, and radiological terrorism is no longer a headline from distant lands. Chemical agents include cyanide, mustard, ricin, sarin, and VX gases. Biological agents include anthrax, botulism, and smallpox. Radiological and nuclear threats can come from a dirty bomb. The Department of Homeland Security has listed many small communities in rural areas as potential terrorism targets. Dams, water purification plants, and public utilities are all potential targets. Gas masks are available that can protect you from chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear events. Many gas masks that are available in military surplus stores were made many years ago. The rubber on these masks may be brittle and not create a tight seal, and the filters may not have been certified by NIOSH for modern threats. Look for a gas mask that carries the CBRN rating, which stands for chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear, and has a filter date that has not expired. A CBRN gas mask will also remove tear gas and many other hazardous gases from the air. If you decide to purchase a gas mask, it is extremely important that you read and follow the manufacturer's instructions for fitting and cleaning. Gas masks are made to fit small, medium, and large faces. Before an event occurs, practice putting the gas mask on and make sure you have a tight seal. The time a gas mask can be used depends on the substance type and concentration level. A gas mask only filters the air you breathe and does not supply oxygen. If you work or live in a populated area such as a large city, you may want to consider an escape hood. Escape hoods remove chemical, biological, and riot control agents from the air, including sarin and other bioterrorism gases. The escape hood allows the user a tight seal, even if having a beard, long hair, and glasses. The P100 filter removes 100% of airborne particulates from the air. Like the gas mask, escape hoods do not supply oxygen and rely on contaminated air to contain at least some oxygen. Check the manufacturer's specifications and instructions on wearing, length of use, filter date, and cleaning instructions. Radiation is the process of emitting energy in the form of waves or particles from certain types of atoms. Radiation cannot be seen, felt, or tasted. Radiation occurs in two forms. Non-ionizing radiation includes sound and light waves, radio, cell phone, television, and microwaves. Ionizing radiation is produced by unstable atoms that are radioactive. Ionized radiation emits the excess energy or mass. Examples of ionized radiation are alpha, beta, gamma, and X-ray charges. Alpha radiation is positively charged particles that are emitted from the nucleus of an atom. They are relatively large and very heavy and can be shielded by a sheet of paper or by human skin. If inhaled or ingested, or they enter your body through a cut through your skin, they can be harmful. Beta radiation is negatively charged particles that are emitted from an atom. They are relatively light and can penetrate more deeply than alpha particles. Beta particles cannot be stopped by a sheet of paper, but a thicker shield like wood is needed. Like alpha particles, beta particles can cause damage to your health if they enter your body. Gamma radiation is the most penetrating form of radiation and usually accompanies beta and some alpha rays. Gamma rays are emitted from the nucleus of an atom and will penetrate paper, skin, wood, and other substances. To protect yourself from gamma rays, a shield at least as thick as a concrete wall or lead barrier is needed. X-rays used in medical and industrial applications are produced by bombarding a metallic target with high-speed electrons in a vacuum. X-rays have the same basic characteristics of gamma radiation. Background radiation is a naturally occurring radiation that is always present. High-energy gamma rays are continuously emitted from the Sun and other stars through space, and the Earth receives only a small fraction of the radiation. Alpha, beta, and gamma radiation are also emitted from elements in the Earth such as uranium. Some areas of the country, such as the Rocky Mountains, have a higher background radiation level. The effect of radiation depends on the type of radiation and length of time of the exposure. Flying in an airplane at high altitudes exposes us to increased radiation, but the length of time of exposure is usually measured in hours. Radiation exposure is cumulative. The stronger the radiation exposure and the longer the time we are exposed, the greater chance of damage to the body. There are two types of devices that measure ionized radiation: a Geiger counter, which shows the rate and strength of the radiation, and a dosimeter that shows the total amount of exposure over time. Some devices alert the user when gamma radiation exceeds natural background levels. Many emergency services carry personal radiation detectors to make sure a scene they approach is safe from a radiation threat. Other radiation detectors measure alpha, beta, gamma, and X-ray radiation in addition to measuring the counts per minute, or CPM, and the counts per second, or CPS. CPM counts are useful in determining normal background radiation over a period of time. Radiation danger to the public has been confined to atomic bomb blasts, accidents at nuclear power facilities, medical and industrial accidents involving radioactive materials, and transportation of nuclear material accidents on our nation's highway system. Since September 11th, the threat of a dirty bomb exploding within a U.S. city has become a reality. A dirty bomb, or radiological dispersion device, is not an atomic bomb, but a conventional weapon combining explosives such as dynamite or plastic explosive with radioactive materials. The primary danger from a dirty bomb is the explosion, which could cause serious injury, and property damage to the area. The device would scatter dust, smoke, and other material containing radioactive particles. The intent of the weapon is to cause damage by the force of the explosion and spread fear and panic by the presence of radioactivity. The radiation released from the most probable sources in a dirty bomb would not contain enough radiation to kill people or cause severe illness. The area of radiation danger may be confined only to several square blocks, depending on the source, winds, and weather. The radioactive dust and smoke would present the greatest health danger if inhaled, ingested, or lodged in an open wound. Contamination occurs externally when loose particles of radioactive material are deposited on surfaces, skin, or clothing. A tight-fitting particle respirator would help keep the radioactive dust from entering your lungs through your mouth and nose. A CBRN mask would offer a higher level of protection. As time increases after the detonation of a dirty bomb, the level of radiation decreases. The further you are from the source of the radiation, the less your exposure. Another method of protection is shielding. A dense material such as lead, concrete, earth, water, and wood help stop gamma rays from penetrating our bodies. Using a Geiger counter and other radiation detection devices will help you know the level of radiation and if it is necessary to evacuate the area. A simple keychain radiation monitor can alert you as the level of radiation decreases. If you have to shelter in place because of massive traffic jams, stay away from windows and seek shelter in a corner of the basement of your home or office building. Piling many dense materials, such as piles of books, heavy tables, boxes of anything heavy, will reduce the amount of radiation you receive. The CDC, Nuclear Regulatory Commission, and other organizations have the latest information about shelter and surviving a radiation emergency on their websites. Take a few minutes and think about what emergency situations you might want to prepare for. In many emergencies, your local police, fire, and medical services respond quickly. As the size and scope of an event grows, local authorities must ask for mutual aid or assistance from unaffected agencies in surrounding areas. Large natural disasters such as hurricanes and wildland fires require mutual aid from the entire country. National or regional disasters such as a pandemic or large-scale act of terrorism could easily affect the entire country in days. Mutual aid may not be available, and cities would have to rely on local resources. So talk with your family about what goods or services locally might be affected. How long might disruptions last? Just having an ample supply of food, clean water, and good communications can prepare you and your family to survive the unknown. During an emergency, your stress level can be dramatically reduced by having planned ahead. Many websites offer important updated information about pandemics, weather, and other health and safety news. Preparation takes time, planning, and cooperation. By working together and starting now, your family can meet the future with confidence.